Good evening and welcome, one and all, to PACIFIC414 Pop Talk. I'm your host, Mike. Tonight, I have 8 stories to talk about here on Pop Talk. Some related to anime, some related to video games, and 2 related to some passings of some great actors and actresses. And those stories are going to be Jujutsu Kaisen O confirms Crunchyroll streaming release date. The other story I have lined up for tonight is Superman Kal-El returns to Earth in Dark Crisis tie-in. Another story I have is a story about a live-action Pac-Man movie in development. Then I have a story about SNK developing a new Fatal Fury video game. I also have an article here where it talks about Star Wars star John Boyega saying he has no interest in doing unoriginal Marvel movies. And if you hear a cat meowing in the background, that's okay. Just trying to get my attention. He's fine. He's got plenty of food and water. And of course, we're going to be talking about Mosley, who passed away over the weekend, and also the passing of Olivia Newton John. So before we get into those stories, I do want to say hello to Kathy Skywalker. Hope you're doing well tonight, Kathy. And yes, definitely, rest in peace, Olivia Newton John. You know, I'm going to go ahead and, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and start talking about Olivia Newton John. Because I got a little story to tell you. And it's the fact that one of my favorite songs of Olivia Newton John, it's been this way since I was a kid, is the song Magic. I love the lyrics. I love the sound of the song. It's just one of those songs I've always thoroughly enjoyed. And I do also want to say hello to Phil McCracken. Okay, no, and by the way, no, I have no idea what that's in reference to, Phil. You'll have to let me know what that's in reference to. If it's in reference to the fact that Olivia Newton-John passed away, yeah, that's what a lot of people were probably saying at the time. I know my own sister was having a hard time with it. Olivia Newton-John was one of her favorites. So let me go ahead and pin the invite link for anybody who would like to join me and discuss stories I have lined up for tonight, and of course discuss, the passing of Olivia Newton-John and Roger E. Mosley. So the story here comes from The Hollywood Reporter, and this was posted right on the day of her passing. I know she'd been battling cancer for a number of years off and on, and she fought the good fight. And the way I look at it now, and this is how I look at it anytime, even the family passed away due to cancer, is that when they pass away, they're cancer free. They're cancer free. That's how I've looked at it. So this article, like I said, is from The Hollywood Reporter. It says Olivia Newton-John, Australian songstress and Grease star, dies at 73. The pop sensation had 5 number 1 hits, including Physical, Have You Never Been Mellow, and You're the One That I Want. Of course, You're the One That I Want comes from Grease. That's a movie I would hear quite often in the household when my mom and sister would play it. And if I didn't hear the movie soundtrack, I would hear the Broadway recording of Grease, because that was one of their particular favorites. So the article goes on to say Olivia Newton-John, the angelic Australian singer who forged a hopelessly devoted following with her chart-topping hits Physical, Have You Never Been Mellow, and You're the One That I Want, her Grease duet with John Travolta, has died. She was 73. Newton John died Monday morning at her ranch in Southern California. Her husband, John Easterling, announced on Facebook. Olivia has been a symbol of triumphs and hope for over 30 years, sharing her journey with breast cancer. He wrote, her healing inspiration and pioneering experience with plant medicine continues with the Olivia Newton John Foundation Fund, dedicated to researching plant medicine and cancer. Born in England and raised in Melbourne, Newton John was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 1992, and she announced in May 2017 that after 25 years in remission, the disease had spread to her lower back. The singer in August 2018 canceled a 2-date tour just 3 weeks after announcing it. She was to reminisce about her career with an interviewer in Melbourne and Sydney. A country pop and soft rock sensation in the 1970s and 80s, with the girl next door appeal, Newton John sold more than 100 million albums and had nearly 40 entries on the Billboard Hot 100 during her 5 decades of music. Her popularity, however, reached another plateau after she was hired to play Right Out High Good Girl Sandy Olsen opposite Travolta as Danny Zuko in Grease. That was back in 1978, the same year I was born. Paramount's adaptation of the musical that had bowed on Broadway in 1972 and would run for nearly 5,400 performances during its original run. For the actress to star opposite 23-year-old Travolta, producer Alan Carr considered Carrie Fisher. Star Wars had yet to be released. Deborah Refn, Susan Day, and Marie Osmond before he encountered Newton John, then 29, at a dinner party hosted by singer Helen Reddy. Her previous movie, the little seen English sci-fi flick Tomorrow, which came out in 1970, had been a failure, and that had Newton John wary. I was very anxious about making another film because my music career was going well, and I did not want to mess it up by doing another movie that wasn't good, Newton John told Vanity Fair in 2016. As Carr tried to convince her to take the part, he promised to make her character Australian. Travolta also lobbied for her. She had a brilliant voice, and I didn't think there could be any more correct person for Sandy in the universe. In its review of Grease, The Hollywood Reporter noted that Newton John projected a youthful innocence and vulnerability in her performance and likened her to a kind of 70s Debbie Reynolds. Others compared her to Doris Day. Made for just $6 million, and that was a lot of money back in the late 70s. $6 million was a lot of money. So some might say it's not a lot of money now for making a movie, but back in the late 70s, that was a lot of money. Grease, directed by first-timer Randall Kleisner, went on to reel in $395 million, $1.7 billion in today's dollars, becoming the highest-grossing American movie musical of the 20th century. Newton John, Hopelessly Devoted to You, and 2 duets with Travolta, You're the One That I Want, and Summer Nights became instant classics. Travolta reacted to her death in an Instagram post. And at this time, I'm going to welcome Phil McCracken. Welcome, Phil.
What's up? How's everybody doing?
I'm doing all right. I hope you are.
Doing okay, thanks.
And Travolta went on to say, My dearest Olivia, you made all our lives so much better. Your impact was incredible. I love you so much. We will see. Sorry. I find this touching because it comes from the heart. We will see you down the road and we'll all be together again. Yours from the first moment I saw you and forever. You're Danny. You're John. Goes on to say she was born September 26th, 1948 in Cambridge, England. The youngest of three children, her father, Brinley, was a headmaster, and her mother, Irene, was the daughter of a Nobel Prize winning physicist. The family moved to Melbourne when she was 5, and she learned to play the piano. By the time she turned 15, Newton John formed Soul 4, an all-girl group, and performing Everything's Coming Up Roses, won a talent contest on the popular TV show Sing Sing Sing. First prize was a trip to London, and she teamed with a friend, Pat Carroll, to perform on army bases and in clubs in Europe. Newton John signed with Decca Records, and in 1966 recorded a version of Jackie DeShannon's "So You Say You'll Be Mine." Then it became the sole female member of a bubblegum band called Tomorrow, assembled by John Kirshner in hopes of creating a UK version of the Monkees. The Tomorrow film was written and directed by Val Guest. Newton John opened for Cliff Richard on tour and appeared on his British TV show before making an impression in 1971 with a version of Bob Dylan's "If Not For You" off her first album. In 1973, she received the first of her 4 Grammy Awards, winning Best Country Vocalist trophy for her U.S. album debut. Let Me Be There, the title track, was her top 10 signal. Let's see. It goes on to say she then had her first 2 number ones with "I Honestly Love You" in 1974, "Have You Never Been Mellow" a year later. John Farrar, her longtime songwriter, wrote "Hopelessly Devoted to You" and "You're the One That I Want" for her. He came into my trailer at like 6 in the morning because he had been up all night, John recalled. He played "You're the One That I Want" for me and said, "What do you think?" I went, "Oh, God, it's amazing. I just had this fantastic energy." Newton John followed up Grease with the roller coaster disco fantasy Xanadu in 1980, which she shared a dance with Gene Kelly in his final film. The movie stumbled at the box office, but the soundtrack contained her hits "Magic," 4 weeks at number 1, Xanadu, written by Jeff Lynne and performed by ELO, and Suddenly, a duet with Richard. She re-teamed with Travolta for the fantasy comedy Two of a Kind in 1983, and that spawned Twist of Fate, another top 10 hit for her. With Newton John reinventing herself as a spandex-clad aerobics fanatic in a sexy and funny music video, Physical spent 10 consecutive weeks at number 1 from 1981 into early 1982, and no other song lasted as long at the top during the entire decade. Newton John also had hits with "Let Me Be There," "If You Love Me, Let Me Know," "Make a Move on Me," and "Heart Attack," among many others. More recently, Newton John played the barfly Bitsy May Harling in Del Shores, black comedy Sordid Lives in 2000, and on a 2008 spinoff of Lago, sang during the opening ceremony at the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney. Appeared in the film's score, a hockey musical, and a few Best Men, in 2011 and played herself in 2 episodes of Glee performing Physical with Jane Lynch. In April 2014, she began a 3-year residency at the Flamingo Las Vegas, billed as a musical journey through her career in movies and music. An inspiration to those affected by her breast cancer, she helped launch the Olivia Newton John Cancer and Wellness Center in Melbourne and raised hundreds of millions of dollars in the fight against the disease. She's always preferred to be called a cancer thriver rather than a cancer survivor. Survivor sounds like someone clinging onto a lifeboat, she said. A thriver is someone who's already off the boat and on land. She also supported many other charities and environmental concerns. Survivors include her husband, whom she married in 2008, her daughter Chloe, with whom she collaborated on the dance song You Have to Believe, sister Sarah, brother Toby, and nieces and nephews Toddy, Fiona, Brett, Emerson, Charlie, Zach, Jeremy, Rando, Pierce, Jude, Layla, Kira, Tasha, Bryn, and Valerie. Her sister Rona, who died of brain cancer in 2013, was an actress who was married to Olivia's Grease co-star Jeff Conaway from 1980 until their divorce in 1985. In lieu of flowers, the family asked that donations be made in her memory to the Olivia Newton John Foundation Fund. Sad loss, folks. And if anybody has anything they'd like to say, please say it. While I'm waiting, I will go ahead and say hello to Leia Rose. Welcome, Leia Rose. I will also say hello to Alan Copeland. Hello, Alan Copeland. How are you? And also, hello to Jet Sparks. How are you doing tonight? So, Phil, do you have anything to say about Olivia Newton John?
I respect her as a singer. I respect her as a person because all through the time I grew up in the 70s and in the 80s, and I have never heard one bad thing this lady ever did. Ever. There is not something I could say she was pulled over for DUI. I'm not saying she's a saint. She probably ain't. But I have never heard nothing negative about her personality or as a person or being sociable. Wasn't a fan of her music. I'm sorry. I consider her part of disco. She rode the disco fame. So did her best friend there, John Travolta. Getting to the 80s, around 82, you didn't hear much from either of them. They became taboo. If you got big, I hate to say it, Hollywood has a mean thing. You get big for a couple years back in the day, they turn on you. Think of what's his name from the Partridge Family. I can't think of his name right now, but he was very popular when that was going on, and he was untouchable. No one, after a couple of years, no one wanted to touch him. Then his brother became popular right when he was becoming unpopular. And then towards the end of the 70s, like I said, disco got big, really big. It was huge. I wasn't a fan of it, but yeah, like I said, when that faded in, you didn't even John Travolta's career, along with her career here in the States. I'm not speaking back in Australia, but here in the States took a hit. Really took a hit. But thankfully their careers kept going and they had you can say good life. Unfortunately, like I said, she had breast cancer and she dealt with it. She was a fighter in that regards, but like I said, as a person, forget her as all the accolades you can give to her, but as a person, I have never heard one bad thing about this woman from the 70s to the day she died, which was a couple days ago. Never heard nothing bad. Never heard about getting arrested, throwing a fit, something seen on, today, like TMZ. You never heard nothing negative about this lady. Never. And that's a
Right.
rarity. That's a very big rarity, you know. So yeah, I give it to her. And another thing, even though she rode the wave to the highest peak during the end of the 70s into the 80s, and it kind of went down a little bit here for her in the States, she kept herself going. Some people in that, I'll be honest, John Travolta did not take the decline very well. This woman didn't affect her. If you didn't like her stuff in the 80s when she wasn't, as popular here in the States, she didn't stop. John Travolta there was a couple years he was out of Hollywood. So, just comparing the two, and like I said, similar times in popularity, that shows you she's a strong woman. Okay, I'm big as I was in music in the States, like she was. Not a big thing. Keep on going, you know. So I give her to her as a person, and I give her to her as a entertainer, because like I said, there's a lot of entertainers. When the decline comes, and it always comes for everyone, some of them, men and women, can't handle it. This lady, like I said, she didn't fade as bad like she did here in the States, in Australia and New Zealand. She kept her popularity there. But in the United States, when that downtrend came, like I said, she didn't stop. She kept going.
No,
So,
kept her
I,
head up.
yep, yeah,
And she
like I
kept
said, you
her
have
head
to.
on her shoulders too.
Yep. I mean, like I said, anybody in entertainment, there's the high and then there's the low. Yeah. Thank you for telling me, Kathy. David Cassidy. Like I said, when David Cassidy's unpopularity started hitting, he didn't like fame, but then when he was losing it, he didn't like that either. Sometimes you get attached to it. Uh, she didn't seem to be affected by it either way. She was still her, when she was popular and when she wasn't that popular. So, like I said, strong woman, that takes a strong person. So, I always respected her. Wasn't a fan of her music, sorry, but I respect her as a person. And I say she was probably one of the strongest people, if you want to say superstars, that came out of the late 70s, early 80s. Very strong person, you know. And unfortunately, in today's world, we don't have that. And so, that's a loss. That's a loss. So,
It is a loss because I mean, you looked at her and she glowed. She radiated her smile, her beauty, her charm. Her ability to just sit there and respond in an interview and be genuine. How often do you get that anymore?
no, you don't. You don't. Like I said, you can. To me, even though they're different styles, I put her in the same genre as people like the Osmonds, who were also big at the time. And but the difference is, you hear their problems, and it's known, and it was known even then. With her, you didn't hear that, and you didn't see her calls. And like I said, you didn't hear about her go. Oh, she went out, got drunk, wrecked the car. I dare you to find anything on this woman. To this day, I can't tell you one thing ever said that she did something out there. I'm not saying she didn't. I'm just saying I have never heard it. So I give it to her. It seems to me she was strong as an individual person, strong-willed, determined, and she had a caliber of herself that, hey, not only do I walk the walk, but I talk the talk, and I do it. So, like I said, I don't like her. I love her as an actress. Don't love her music. but I do respect the person very greatly. Like I said, there's not many of them like her. Not many, you know.
And
So,
I said at the beginning of the broadcast that one of my favorite songs of her was Magic.
yeah.
And watching the music video that was available from Sing 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 when she was performing it, you know, her stage presence, her charisma. She had that presence about her where, when she was on stage, you looked, you paid attention. You didn't just sit there with your hands on your hips or, you know,
When she performed, and
arms crossed.
I'm gonna say this: when she performed, she performed. This
Hmm.
isn't like people in the last 20 years. Uh, Britney Spears. Sorry, she can't really sing. If you unplug the music, the backing track tape in the background, she can't sing. Olivia Newton John didn't go up on stage and lip sing. That's her singing.
Hmm.
If she had hit a bad note, she hit a bad note. To me, as a person, I go and see somebody play live. I don't care if their voice is shot. Give it to me. Let me hear what you have. I don't care if it's bad. Don't give me a backing track because that's all it is coming off a record. Then that's not a live performance. I'm with Elton John when he complained about Madonna. That like I said, she was all of it. I dare any of them. Madonna, her, uh, very few women today that actually can sing. Go on stage without even with no background, sing. Like I said, I guarantee you they will flop. And I missed that. She was real. Like I said, I'm not a fan of her music. I respect it, but that woman can sing.
Hmm.
Legitimately could sing. So, like I said, when I said we lose something, even though somebody, like I said, myself, that don't like her music, she could actually sing. In today's world, how many out there, men or women, can say they're actually singing? Actually, their voice, you know? Very few. And like I said, I give it to her. I give it to her.
I mean, I can't speak for you. I can't say, did you ever watch Grease? Because I don't know.
I
But
watched
I
Grease,
did.
and I watched Grease too. I saw both. Like I said, the Grease 2, Grease 1, I don't have no problems with. You know,
Mhm.
I don't consider that disco. That was just a musical that happened to be a movie first, then the musical. You know, uh, I liked her acting in it. It was a good enough that it spawned a sequel. That Grease 2, not as good, but it was okay. Wish it was probably John Travolta and Olivia Newton John in that, but the actors that came in there, Michelle Pfeiffer and the other guy, did pretty good. So, you know,
Mhm.
uh, but like I said, I mean, I respect the woman. I mean, like I said, in today's day and age, most of these people cannot sing. This woman could sing. If you unplugged all the music and told her sing it, what you would call it a cappella, which means you're singing without music, but she is singing to what it would be music. I guarantee you would hear her voice, and she could do it. I challenge. I could say I challenge Madonna. I challenge Britney Spears. All these anything that came in the last definitely 20 years, they're not singing. They're not singing. So that puts her even much higher than what you would normally put a singer. Like I said, think about it. You want to credit someone that does some background tracks to a singing to that. You know, you know. Like I said, even today's world. Look at it this way. You can compare. Look how big Shania Twain got. Right
Mhm.
now, she's still out there today, but is she as good? No, This lady didn't fade. She might not be as popular, and it's hard when you come from somewhere else. If you think an American artist or a musician or a band can hold popularity overseas to the same level, no, they don't. They go up and they go down. This lady never lost her popularity in Australia. Never. She lose a little bit here in the States, yes, but the States, that's a different beast. People love you for 4 years, and the next 4 years they hate your guts. That's how it always worked over here. Like I said, Sean Cassidy, David Cassidy, prime examples. Look at the Bee Gees. They loved them, and the next thing you know, they're hating their guts. That they, people don't even know. The Bee Gees wrote songs for Olivia Newton John.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote songs even when they stopped making records and stopped singing. They made people's careers. Look at the song that Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton did. That's a Bee Gees song, Island in the Stream. So, some people had to go different directions. This lady didn't have to do that. She just kept doing what she was doing and seemed fine. Hey, she was even asked to do Vegas. And in this day and age, Vegas isn't something that you're looking, this is a downward spiral. Today, you want to be on Vegas. You want to be there for 2 or 3 months. So give it to her. And like I said, the last 30 years she was dealing with cancer on top of that. Give it to the lady.
Yeah.
Sorry if I rambled there. Sorry if I
No. It's fine. It's fine because I'm sure everybody who's in the chat right now, Leia Rose, Kathy Skywalker, Shay, Gap Stargate, anyone who's lurking, anyone who's listening has things that they remember about Olivia Newton John, especially if you grew up during a particular time period, whether it's the 70s or in the 80s. You have fondness for her.
Yep. I mean, like I said, even as a person, like I said, I do not like her music. There was a couple songs I did admire, did like, and could listen to, but I didn't like her music. But I can tell you this: I would take her over any female singer going today, including Lady Gaga. I'll give it to Lady Gaga. She can really sing. Not saying she can't. I'm giving her props, but if I had Lady Gaga and Olivia Newton John, I would go to see Olivia Newton John. That's just my opinion. Nothing against Lady Gaga.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all, Phil. I mean, we all have our preference in music. Yeah. We all have our preference in singers. And I do want to say hello to Shay and also Jedi Bill. Welcome.
And I give her another credit. Normally, what happens with a lot of people from overseas, once they make it big in the United States, they tend to stay in the United States. Olivia Newton John, nothing against, her, I'm pretty sure she had nothing against the United States. Australia was home, and Australia is where she wanted to be. I mean, she didn't mind touring and coming here and everything. But, at that time, I'm pretty sure she got hammered by the record company, touring agents, and all this. Maybe you should move into the States. She didn't. She stayed in Australia. At a time back then when you made it big, that's where you wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other people have resisted the urge, like your Led Zeppelins, your some of the Beatles, John is one of the exceptions. But normally when they made it big, they transferred to stay here. And she didn't. Like I said, she stayed home. So I'll give her kudos for it. I have massive respect for her. Like I said, she did some, she like I said, she was a person of the time. That period of time, 78 to 82, that's the disco era. I mean, I'm more a hard rock person, but I won't lie to you. After 78, hard rock took a back seat to people with disco. So,
yeah, because disco was in its heyday.
Yep, that
There
was
was
that,
that
that was their
period of
start.
time.
Yep. And then just like anything else, it runs that cycle. And like I said, particularly here in the United States, once you run the cycle, it's just like one day you wake up and then everybody hates it. So you get a negative effect. And like I said, you might not believe me. Look at John Travolta's career after Grease, and when he starts getting into the 80s, by 82, he actually is out of movies because they didn't want to touch him because when they think of him, they think disco.
Even with Saturday Night Fever.
Yep. Yep. I mean, even after that put him on the top. But you know what? They have, even me, when I think of John Travolta, I don't think of Grease and I don't think of Saturday Night Fever. I think about Welcome Back, Kotter. Even though he managed to break the pigeonhole out of it, he still had the pigeonhole. Like the actor from the Waltons. Back then, what made you famous is what people wanted to keep you in. Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz, the actor that played him.
Yeah, Henry Winkle.
He couldn't get away from that role. I mean, I'm sure he loved being there, but he could not get away from that role. And look how many years it took for him to get away from movies and then come back. Took him a while, long while. So, like I said, I mean, and these are men. She's a woman. She survived it. She went through it. Diana Ross, I love her to death. She was there at the same time. But you know what? By the late 80s, mid to late 80s, she was just as much out of the picture as here in the States, as well as Olivia Newton John. You still know her name, but music-wise, what did you hear from Diana Ross? When you're out of the public, when the public starts running away from something, them people unfortunately suffered. And you ride the wave, you do what you can, and then like I said, she kept trucking. Where some of these people, including John Travolta, threw their hands up and said, "Well, I'll take a break and wait a couple of years and come back." She didn't do that. She took the the decline. She took the decline as well as anybody I can think of.
Very true. And I'm going to ask everybody in the chat right now, even you lurkers out there, go ahead and chime in. What is your favorite Olivia Newton John song? And if you have two, go ahead and list two. And while I'm waiting for that, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And I'll read your responses as soon as I see them. You know what? Let's go ahead and talk about Roger E. Mosley. Now, for anybody who watched Magnum PI, you know who Roger E. Mosley is. T.C. Collins. And I had heard a story where at the time he was going to audition for Magnum PI and the show was in production. He was told by his agent, don't worry, usually Tom Selleck series don't last. Well, this one lasted for 8 seasons. All right. So let's see. Kathy Skywalker is saying her favorite songs, all of them. Okay, I'll go with that. And I've already mentioned mine, but I'll go ahead and mention it for those who just came in. My favorite song of hers has always been Magic, ever since I was a kid.
I would agree because, I mean, like I said, I'm not a fan of her music, but if there's one that I have to think off the top of my head, that's it. That's it.
All right. So this article comes from TV Line, and it says Roger E. Mosley, Magnum PI's Theodore T.C. Calvin, dead at 83, reboots. Stephen Hill reacts. Roger E. Mosley, best known for playing helicopter pilot T.C. Calvin. I'm sorry, I said Collins, but it's actually Calvin. My bad. I'll take that error. on the CBS crime drama Magnum PI died early Sunday morning. He was 83. His daughter, Mosley, confirmed the news via Facebook, writing he was surrounded by family as he transcended peacefully. We could never mourn such an amazing man. We would hate any crime done in his name. It is time to celebrate the legacy he left for all of us. I love you, Daddy. You love me too. My heart is heavy, but I am strong. I will care for Mommy. You love, your love. Sorry, I said you love, and I need to correct myself. Your love of almost 60 years. You raised me well, and she is in good hands. Rest easy. No cause of death was given. However, his daughter also posted early Saturday morning that the actor was involved in a recent car accident that left him paralyzed from the shoulders down and in critical condition. Mosley starred on the original Magnum PI for all of its 8-year run between 1980 and 1988. I mean, 8 years on a TV series. 8 years of a TV show. That's almost unheard of now. He appeared in 158 episodes of 162 opposite Tom Selleck. Mosley's character ran a helicopter business in the show and was often helping Magnum escape danger by flying him all over Hawaii. The actor later returned to the rebooted series in 2019 for a cameo, albeit as a different character named John Boyega. Magnum reboot stars Stephen Hill, who plays the updated version of T.C. Calvin, posted a tribute to Instagram Sunday to commemorate Mosley's life. Rest in power to the king, father, husband, friend, trailblazer, Black Power band, coach, gentleman, powerhouse, talent, and mentor. Roger E. Mosley, he wrote, we have all been honored by the example of your life. In addition to Magnum PI, Mosley appeared on shows such as Love Boat, Night Gallery, Sanford and Son, Kung Fu, Kojak, McCloud, The Rockford Files, The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, Starsky and Hutch, You Take the Kids, Night Court, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Walker Texas Ranger, Rude Awakening, Las Vegas, and Fact Checkers Unit, among others. He also lent his talents to many TV movies throughout the decades, including The Other Side of Hell, Cruise into Terror, The Jericho Mile, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and Africa. On the film side of things, Mosley appeared in several blaxploitation films in the 70s, including The Mac, Hitman, Sweet Jesus, Preacher Man, Darktown Strutters, and The River Niger. Also on his film acting resume were McHugh, starring John Wayne, The Greatest Semi-Tough, Heart Condition, Pentathlon, and A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, co-starring Martin Lawrence. Oh, there's another great talent gone. And it seems like, every year we keep losing more and more and more. And I know what some people are saying, it's a factor of life, We all have a starting year and an ending year. But it just seems like, as I get older, many of us who are around my age get older, we keep hearing about the actors and actresses, performers who we grew up listening to and watching, hearing about their passings. And it just reminds you, life is precious.
Yep. I think we're going to lose a lot more just because time, unfortunately. And let's be honest, for us, you and me can't speak about actors from the 60s, the 50s, and the 40s. But there was always like a baton passing, They passed it on to these actors in the 70s and the 80s. Maybe you can touch a little bit of the 90s, but you can feel a disconnect with actors and actresses from today to these actors of then. Look at his list of the shows that he was on. Some of them shows are instant classics. Okay. And the show that he was on the longest with Magnum PI ran 8 years. Today, you're lucky if you even get a show to last 4 years. Not because it can't last for more than 4 years, because your big four, if you want to call it that, or even big five of television, non-cable, it doesn't pay for them to make a show go for more than 4 years. Because reruns, they'll make more on reruns. Well, not saying they're not going to, he didn't make money on his reruns. Pretty sure he did. But the TV industry does not like that anymore. And you have to have a following, unlike today. You have to have a strong following to get a show to go 8 years. So, yeah. I always remembered him because he was a helicopter guy. I mean, in the show, he ran a tour. His helicopter was for touring in Hawaii. He helped Magnum, but that was what his helicopter really was for. If I remember his story right, he was ex-vet from Vietnam, and he got some money together and went to Hawaii to do helicopter tours. So that's it. And he was a friend of Magnum. I mean, like I said, I liked Magnum as a kid. That was one of the shows I watched. So, seeing him every night, and seeing the cast, that was a great cast. That was a great cast on Magnum PI. You couldn't run 8 years and not have a great cast. So, like I said, I'm sad to see him go, but like I said, you give people credit. Got to give him credit. He did a lot of shows as a guest actor. He did a lot his time in Magnum. He had a good career, And there might be some people out there saying, well, he was just a TV actor. He wasn't even the main actor. You know what? It's harder to be the supporting actor in a TV show than it is to be the main actor of the TV show.
Well, look at William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy.
Yep.
William Shatner was a star, but a lot of people liked Leonard Nimoy's.
Yep. I would tell you this, and this is going to be controversial. I lean more to the actor that played DeForest Kelly playing Dr. McCoy. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Shatner fan, but out of the original cast, when you have the big three, if I had pick, I'm picking DeForest Kelly. So that's a surprise, but it's exactly what you're saying. Sometimes, and even on TV shows, if you ever noticed this, especially in the 70s and definitely in the 80s, if the supporting actor starts looking like he's being more popular in the show, get rid of him, replace him. They did it. If you don't believe me on that, all you have to do is look at MASH. The only thing was, no matter who they replaced in that long run, it worked. I think you replace him in Magnum TI, and I don't think that would have lasted as long as it did. And the other actor that played Magnum PI's best friend, the other supporting actor, also was good. The butler, yeah, but the butler was a pain.
Yeah, but he was designed to be a pain.
Yeah,
that was the whole
put there. Yes. But I'm saying, like, overall, with Magnum PI was good, but without him playing his part, and I forget the other actor, the other friend of Magnum PI, without them two in the show, Magnum PI wouldn't have been as great as it was.
No, just like Star Trek when as great as it was without Spock and McCoy.
Nope, you wouldn't have a show. Like I said, sometimes you want, like they always said back in the day, you have to put a good cast. No matter how good your main star is, could the actor that played Ponzi, you had to look without Ron Howard and the other guys in that show, and especially Mr. Cunningham, that show doesn't succeed nor run as long as it did. You know, so give it to him. For 8 years, he was a supporting actor, pretty much on every episode. I think he might not out all the episodes. He might not have been on maybe like 5. So like you're talking about 160 some, and he only missed
It's
5.
here in the article how many episodes he was actually in. I just got to get to that paragraph. It said he appeared in 158 of the 162 episodes. So he only missed 4 episodes.
4 in 8 years. Wow. I mean, think of it. You put it in today's world. The longest episode, show that we had besides Big Bang Theory was the one with 2.5 Men. And even there, how many times one of the main actors wasn't on the show and missed that? I guarantee in 8 years they missed probably 3 times the amount that he missed before. You know.
Well, think about how long Family Ties ran. And then Michael J. Fox became so popular that they ended up ending the show.
Yep, unfortunately. And that was a good show. I loved Family Ties. You know, like I said, in this day and age, like I said, after Big Bang Theory is the only one I can name recently, but I'll think that's it. You're not going to see 8 seasons of a show. I'm not sure how the Young Sheldon is going, but I probably say they will call it quits after 6. So, sadly,
I guess it's doing well. It's in its 5th season, I believe. Yep. I guess as long as the ratings are there, they'll keep pushing for more seasons.
Here's the thing with Hollywood today. Mike and Molly was the #1 show on TV. It was only there for 4 seasons. It had the ratings. It had the cast that still wanted to keep going. That was the company that the channel that was on. I'm not sure it was NBC, CBS, one of them, deciding, oh no, we're doing 4 and that 4 seasons is enough. So yeah, and that's just
how many times have we seen it where a show overstays its welcome?
No, that
where they start running out of
that has happened.
Ideas.
Yep. Let's be honest. Happy Days was running on popularity from the past, but it probably should have ended 2 or 3 seasons earlier. That's an example that I can give. Sometimes all good things have to come to an end. I think like a show like House, I thought that ended perfectly when it did. Grey's Anatomy, yeah, they're still going. But like I said, like to see an actor on a show from start to finish 8 years. Today's world, that's almost impossible.
I'll tell you what show I thought should have ended sooner than eight seasons, and that was Full House.
Yeah.
I liked it in its first few seasons, but then it just became the same story over and over again, in my opinion.
Yeah. I will always say this. Hollywood sometimes, depending on the show and who it is, writers get redundant unless they get some new blood in there and the main writer is really creative. And I missed one. I know ran the longest for a while here was the one with the 2 brothers that did the ghost thing. Help me out here, Mike. They had the car. They fought the devils and angels and all that type of thing. Oh God, I can't.
I'm trying to think what it is, but I'm drawing a
You,
blank.
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they ran for like 15 years. Wow.
Yeah, I'm just no help. Literally no help tonight.
Don't you hate ones on top of your head? But yeah, I mean, like I said, but even there, they had to in and out the door. I mean, yes, the two main characters were all the same, but as far as supporting actors, and maybe it was written that way or maybe not, they went through their thing. This guy stayed on the entire show the whole time. That's
Well,
what
I mean, also look at Dukes of Hazzard. You know, when Bo and Luke, their contracts were up, and they were trying to negotiate new contracts, and neither them or the studio can reach a deal, so they bring in
the two
the Duke
clones.
cousins. Yeah.
That was popular in the day because I believe that was CBS, and what they were trying to do was kind of like the NFL did with the two strikes in '82 and '87. You're not big according, and I don't want to take either side because I feel both sides are wrong. But their thing was, you two guys are popular, yes, but we can grab two more and be just as popular. Well, the fans weren't too happy with that.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. But even the Dukes of Hazzard, love the Dukes of Hazzard. I think they ended that when it was perfect, you know. They looked like they were starting to lose creativity, and it was a good thing to end it when they did. So, and look at all the shows when Magnum PI was out, they were going up against Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team. Look, to go 8 years, and
well, let's also mention Chips, because Chips was still going Chips, at the time.
Can't forget about your California Highway Patrol. You know.
Well, you know, I don't care if people want to cancel me for saying this, because this is the truth. My dad was a California Highway Patrol officer, so that was always a favorite of his, unless he started watching the later seasons and went, we would never do that. There is no way we'd ever do that.
I was a fan of Chips. Even when one of the head stars left and it was just Punch, you know, I still was a fan. There were some great shows back in them days, man. Some great shows. But my point is saying is, look at how they all had to, back then they had to fight. And if your ratings, you couldn't pull a Batwoman. That type of show, Batwoman back then wouldn't made it past the first show and get canceled.
And real quick, because Kathy brings it up in the chat, Steve Urkel, Family Matters. Yep. Steve Urkel was supposed to just be a one-off character, but they kept bringing him back because of the popularity of the character. Julia White became a big star, and all because of what
he also battled with it because he got, I hate using that term, but I have no other term, pigeonholed into role.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now he accepts it, you know, but after he was done with that show and he put Steve Urkel behind, the fans that he had as him as an actor always are going, and they did always consider it's Steve Urkel.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that's a good thing. You want, hey, to be popular like that, you know, that puts food on your table. But on the other hand, being an actor, you can understand some of these people where really I'm only going to be known for one thing. You know, I used to love the Battle of the Network Stars. That was some of the fun things to watch on TV. I don't know if you ever watched that, Mike.
I watched it a little bit. I can't say I was a regular viewer of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, New Harriet and Family Matters, when they replaced the original actress. Yep, got any cheese? And of course, and I'm going to say, did I do that? I mean, that became a popular catchphrase. Everybody who was of a certain age was saying it. Even adults were saying
it. The show, you knew about it, and you were saying it.
Yeah, and they had Steve Urkel dolls. You pull the drawstring. Did I do that? And saying, got any cheese? And all of his catchphrases, because that's how shows were back then. A popular character has a catchphrase. Well, guess what? We're gonna, milk it for all we got. I mean, we mentioned Dukes of Hazzard, Roscoe Pico Train. Get. I'm gonna get them Duke boys.
There was always
Roscoe Pico Train.
I guess today you would call it stereotyping, but I just call it actually being funny. Look, if you can't laugh at yourself, like I said, for me, Mike, you probably know, like I said 1,000 times, I'm Italian. If I can't laugh at myself or someone makes a joke about something Italian, then I'm not living, So seeing something on TV, like if I was Southern, which I am, but if I was deep South, seeing somebody like Roscoe Pico Train, Boss Hog, here seeing, the little fun, the fun in it and making fun. They were all that show was all about making fun. Even you might not see it. Magnum PI did have its humor in it. Every time Magnum PI got into this little thing with the butler,
that's where the comedy came from.
Yep.
And Shay even brings up the fact that Jaleel White got voice work for voicing Sonic at not just one Sonic the Hedgehog series, but two Sonic the Hedgehog series that were very different from each other.
Just to note, so people know on the money side, and we'll use this actor that was in Magnum PI. Forget his Magnum PI. Every one of them other shows that he made a guest appearance on, he got paid. He gets a residual check every time there's a rerun that shows him on there. So they get paid. Like the big thing was, if you ever notice, what was it? The Love Boat, which was notorious for bringing back actors from the day. Every time an actor made a cameo on the Love Boat, they get paid. That was another way the company was making it so that their former actors or the actors at the time that lost their popularity or wasn't as popular as they were to get them some work. And hence it made a great show for the Love Boat. Any of them guest shows, even like Fantasy Island used to always have guest actors appear as their visitors for the week.
Very true.
They got paid. This was a way. See, you made a deal, signed a contract with your network. Okay. And even if your show got canceled, they still might use you in other shows. Fantasy Island, The Love Boat. If you was on the same network as let's see, what's the one with Michael Landon?
It wasn't uncommon for TV shows that were on the same networks and created by the same trust to have crossovers.
Yes,
where somebody would show up on one show and somebody else would show up on the other show. It wasn't uncommon.
Yeah, like I said,
because you would see it with Perfect Strangers, Full House, and Family Matters.
Yep, you always pulled somebody famous that was from their network. That's probably they're 2 or 3 years out of fandom, and they say here they are, and people will always think, well, why would oh, it's cool they're bringing them back, but why? Well, he probably had a 5-year contract, and this was a way to get him some work, and you get them some work, even if you make an appearance on one show. MASH was another example.
Or even if it wasn't the fact that they're under contract, maybe the other show was struggling in ratings. Well, hey, we've got an idea. We bring in this particular actor, and have him making guest appearance. That'll help boost up the ratings.
And it did, because sometimes a week ahead of time, you might have heard it on. We didn't have the internet, but you had the thing like Entertainment Tonight. Well, this week on MASH, you're going to see. They had a lot of famous people on there. But let's say somebody was on there. I'm just using the name because it's coming. Let's say Mark Hamill is going to be on MASH next week. Even if he wasn't popular in the very beginning before Star Wars, there were still some Mark Hamill fans. Oh, I want to watch it. And if he was a little bit past his prime or done a show, like a William Shatner, they probably would offer him too. Hey, come on. Get our ratings up. Look at MASH. Them two never were on MASH, but look at all the visiting actors that came on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And Magnum PI, believe it or not, did have some visiting actors. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. They all do. Matter of fact, they all did. That was like a thing back then. Like I said, Happy Days did it. All your shows did it. I can't think of the Michael Landon show with the Little House on the Prairie. They were notorious for doing it too. They all did it. Even Star Trek: The Next Generation did it.
Well, I was going to bring up Paul Sorvino when he showed up in season 6 of Next Generation as Worf's brother Nikolai.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect to see Paul Sorvino, the guy from Goodfellas, on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Nope. I mean, like I said, people say, why would they do it? It's not just for the role, but it's also a check, because they know, just as like we know, even now. Hey, if I appear on a Star Trek show, I wouldn't say today's Star Trek, but a Star Trek show back then, that's going to be rerun and rehashed and going to be put out there, not just here in the United States, worldwide. So that's a check coming for some of these people. So give it to them,
By the way, speaking of Star Trek, I've been working on something just a little bit here, a little bit there. And let's see. Good one to show. Yes. But it is going to be in celebration of Star Trek next month. And I'm just going to go ahead and start promoting it now along with the anime stream I'm going to be having. But let me go ahead and share it this way. Go. But this is what I'm working on. I'm going to do a stream dedicated to Star Trek. I don't know if it's going to be in place of a Wednesday Pop Talk or if I'm going to do it on a Saturday, but this is what I'm working on. This is what you all can look forward to.
To me, I just have to good Star Trek, and I would even say this. I was never a fan of Enterprise, never watched it, didn't like it. But I would take Star Trek Enterprise right now over anything that we're dealing with Star Trek today. But two of them, three of them right there. I'm a fan of Cisco, major fan of Janeway, and of course Kirk. Picard, he's okay, but he still will always be Snoke to me. But that's choices. People always have their choice. But take anything over this right here. I take this over anything of Star Trek going today. Anything.
Yep, I just thought I would go ahead and show you all what I'm working on. I'm always trying to plan ahead for the channel, what I want to do next, especially for those monthly streams. Like I said, this month's going to be anime, and that's going to be at 8 p.m. on Saturday the 20th, 8 p.m. Eastern. So the Star Trek stream, again, I have to decide, do I want to have it on the Saturday or do I want to have it on a normal Pop Talk Wednesday or have it on the actual anniversary day of the original series.
When does
And I'm
the
kind of
anniversary day actually fall on?
it falls on a Thursday, and I'm actually leaning more toward doing it on that Thursday.
I would if I was in your shoes, I would be leaning in that way.
Just because I've done it the past couple of years where I've celebrated Star Trek's anniversary on the actual day, and I kind of want to keep that going.
Gotcha. Totally gotcha.
All right, so moving on to our next story here. Go ahead and highlight it, and I'll go ahead and put the link in the description. Well, not the description, but the chat. And if anyone else would like to join Phil and I, you're more than welcome. The link's pinned to the top.
I don't bite.
We're
not hard.
We're not scary. We're not scary. All right, so this article comes from Bounty in the Comics, and it says Star Wars actor John Boyega says he has no interest in doing unoriginal Marvel movies. It's real hard to top Iron Man. This was actually posted on the 4th, and it's by Spencer McCauley. It says, while more and more Hollywood celebrities are leaping at the chance to boost their profiles with a major comic book film role, former Star Wars actor John Boyega has the exact opposite outlook, recently revealing that he has absolutely zero interest in doing a Marvel film, as he has found that not only are they unoriginal, but it's also real hard to top Iron Man. And I can imagine that he still has some reservations about doing anything with Disney after the way they treated him during the sequel trilogy. I wouldn't be so eager to jump back in their shoes, jump back in that ring. I can't speak for anyone else, but I know I wouldn't. Says Boyega shared his aversion to joining the MCU during a recent interview given to Men's Health as part of a general profile of him and his career. Asked by writer Lola Ogunanik, and I'm probably mispronouncing that last name, but I tried, if there was any truth to numerous rumors circulating online which have suggested that he'll soon be donning a new spandex suit. Over the years, whispered roles for the actor have included Blade, Dr. Voodoo, and most recently, Nova. Boyega declared that such an outing is not in the vision for me now. I want to do nuanced things, he said. I want to donate my services to original indie films that come with new, fresh ideas because I know it's real hard to top Iron Man in that universe. In support of Boyega's sentiment, Femi Ugan, the actor's former drama teacher / current agent, explained to Gunanik that his client had two specific goals for his career, which were to disrupt the industry and also to make money. Though thus far he's found that nothing has changed, for John it was never about trying to fit into a box, said Ugan, noting that the actor has regularly declined to play such roles as drug dealers, slaves, and sports stars. He wants to be the outline of the box. It's all about accountability, he concluded. He doesn't want to be defined by any stereotypical roles. Well, it's kind of like, this channel. I try to do things outside of the box. Well, let other content creators do their own thing. I'm going to do mine. And if it's outside of the box, so be it. Somebody tells me, we want you to walk that straight line. I'm going to look at that straight line and go, no, I'm going to make my own path. Thank you. Of course, even without his desire to participate in more substantial and original projects, Boyega's disinclination to work with Disney should also come as no surprise given how the company treated both him and his character Finn during production of their Star Wars sequel trilogy. This ad disappears. I continue on with the article. I don't know what they're trying to sell, but I have no interest in it. It says launching the trilogy. Oh, come on. Really? Another ad. All right, come on. Finish up this ad. Ad for the same product. Okay, it says, oh, come on.
Try scrolling down a little bit.
It doesn't work. I've tried it before. Oh.
How about new?
Sorry, I was looking for something funny. Okay, let's try this. Launching the trilogy with seemingly every intention of centering Finn as the major player, which they should have done. Moving forward, over the course of 3 films, Disney reduced his role from that of a potential new Jedi to almost a side-playing player in Rey's story, as evidenced by the character's nonsensical story in The Rise of Skywalker. Not only that, but most infamously, Disney shrunk Boyega's appearance on the Chinese poster for The Force Awakens in order to appeal to the country's more discriminatory views toward other races, particularly those with black skin. Speaking to his frustrations with the House of Mouse, Boyega slammed the company's practices during a 2020 interview with GQ. Rhetorically, sorry, I can't speak tonight. What else is new? Rhetorically telling them to not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side. It's not good, said Boyega of Finn's character arc. I'll say it straight up. No, it wasn't good. Finn was a more interesting character than Rey. In the same interview, Boyega also noted that he considered the reordered character hierarchy that first took effect in The Last Jedi to be particularly disappointing and infuriating development. Like you guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley, you knew what to do with Adam Driver, said Boyega. You knew what to do with these other people, but when it came to Kelly Marie Tran, when it came to John Boyega, you know, F all. So what do you want me to say? He got the shaft. Let's face it. He got the shaft when it came to his character. He continued, what they want you to say, I enjoyed being part of it. It was a great experience. No. I'll take the deal when it's a great experience. They gave all the nuance to Adam Driver, all the nuance to Daisy Ridley, he concluded. Let's be honest. Daisy knows this. Adam knows this. Everybody knows this. I'm not exposing anything. No, he's not. The fans know it too. You can't blame him for not wanting to participate in the making of an MCU film, especially after his experience with the Star Wars sequel trilogy under Disney.
I wouldn't blame him for not wanting to touch Disney with a 10-foot pole. And let's just say this. To me, his character, the way it could have evolved was like the Han Solo character. Okay? Han Solo didn't take anything from the main character, Luke Skywalker. Did not. I would even say Han Solo was a supporting actor, which technically he was. But Han Solo's role in Star Wars had its own life. Is it possible to have not only a main star and a co-star, but even the co-star having his own storyline? Han Solo did. Mm-hmm. This guy, to me, way I saw him through the sequel trilogy, I thought he was a Force sensitive. It was going to be a Jedi.
That's how it looked like they were building up his character in The Force Awakens.
Then you get this implication, which was nothing wrong. Okay, it kind of fit at the time a little love affair between him, and trans character. They kiss.
Yeah, Rose Tico.
Okay, next movie you see them, they're two strangers. You know, two strangers. Who in the world's writing this stuff? Okay,
You had J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson to blame
none of
for the
them,
bad writing.
no clue what they were doing. And then this whole entire time between the second movie to the third movie, he's saying throughout the movie, "Ray, I got something I got to tell you. Ray, I got something I got to tell you." Well,
And he never tells her.
No,
That's something that he has to tell her.
It's it's either, to me it was two things. One, "Hey Ray, I love you," or "Hey Ray, guess what? I got the Force." I would have leaned to the second one, nothing personal, but I would have leaned to the second one to see more risk. Hey, the first time he holds the lightsaber, and I'll give it a little credit there to people. Yeah, he didn't have no Jedi training or anything, but he did have training as a stormtrooper to use a weapon. He held that lightsaber like somebody's holding a lightsaber like he was a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was a lot of potential there. His character wasn't the only one that got diminished there. That whole sequel trilogy is a mess, and I never blame any of the actors. The only thing I will hold against John Boyega is how he takes it out on Ridley and Driver. That's not their fault. They have no control over that. They're in the same.
It may not be their fault, but here you are, you're John Boyega, and you're witnessing. Wait a minute, my co-stars are getting more fanfare than I am, and the way I was lured onto this was that my character was going to be the character that, has this growth. Starts off as a stormtrooper, X from the First Order, and you start building up on this character's potential. They dropped the freaking ball when it came to Finn.
I think if it was something that was George Lucas, first he would have been told. But George Lucas would have had it all planned out for each character. All right, Boyega, your character is going to be a major character. He's going to be a force in this movie. You're going to end up being finding out you're force sensitive and will become a Jedi by the end of the movie. Could have went along that line. Or George Lucas would have said, "Look, Boyega, we're going to get you in Star Wars. You're going to be a supporting actor." Harrison Ford was a supporting character. But hey, we're going to give you time in this movie so that your character is going to develop like the Han Solo character.
Yeah, and the thing about Harrison Ford as Han Solo, he may have been a supporting character in the original Star Wars. That supporting role led to a starring role as Indiana Jones.
Yes. And see, I would have think if they would have done his character fair like that, he would have been no problem. Hey, I'll still work with Disney. But why would you want to work for Disney after that? Why would any of these actors that played in that movie want to come back to anything to do with Disney? If you don't think would do the same to him in Star Wars, you don't think they would do the same to the MCU?
Of course they would. Of course they would.
I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. He seems to be doing good. I seen the one, he put his voice on an animated movie that was a remake of the bunny rabbit thingamajiggies that lived under the ground and did the thing. I can't think of the name of it right now, but he was in there and his voice, and he did a good job. I liked it. I can't think of it now, the name of it, but there was an animated movie back in the mid-'80s. It dealt with rabbits and how mankind was moving them, and they had to try to find a way to move before mankind come and destroy their little holes in the ground. And it's a remake of that. And he's voice, like I said, he's a major voice actor in that. And like I said, he did quite well. So it doesn't seem like he's struggling for roles. And I would see where he lists what he wants to do. He wants to evolve as an actor, which anybody would be, not de-evolve. What role are they going to offer him? Another supporting role as a supporting actor and go through that whole process again? No.
I wouldn't want to go through that crap again.
Nope. And I know Disney right now is looking for actor to replace the one in Panther. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I wouldn't touch that role with a 10-foot pole.
Well, even in their marketing for Black Panther 2, they're using Chadwick Boseman. They're using his image to try to get people to watch the movie.
There's the name.
They're trying to gain sympathy.
There's the name of the show, Watership Down. There's the original and there's the remake, and he's in the remake. And I like both of them equally the same. Just the animated graphics are more modern, and his is very perfect, man. I recommend anybody to watch it. And as far as why they don't let them keep the British accent, if it's about Star Wars, let's just say, how can I say this nicely? Because I get myself in trouble on my show with the British. If you ever notice in the original Star Wars, all the good guys have American accents. All the Imperials had what? British accents.
Mm-hmm.
George Lucas said that was intentional, and yes, it was intentional because if you remember, Star Wars came out in 1977, but it was actually filmed a lot in 1976. And what was the big thing about 1976? 200-year anniversary of the Revolutionary War. That's an inflation there. So I give a lot of credit to them actors that can change their accent. Even Americans trying to play other people's accents. It's very hard. You see a lot of them fail even when they're doing the movie. They're failing hard. Yeah. When I can't
do it.
Boyega did good. You couldn't even tell he had a British accent.
Mm-mm.
So I give it to him as an actor to do that. And a lot of them British give it to American actors. They were able to. Well, you have to remember she's a good guy. So, but I guess they wanted to tie her to Palpatine. So that's another way you can say with the imperial accent, it's British. So.
Well, Kathy, the reason why Daisy really was allowed to keep her accent is because she was Palpatine's granddaughter.
There you go.
That's my answer to that. That's why she was able to keep the accent. Although, to be honest, they just threw that in because they had no idea what they're going to do for the third and final film of the sequel trilogy.
That third film, yeah. I just watched that maybe about 3 months ago.
Oh, Phil, why?
That's the only Star Wars movie I have never saw in the theater. And I've seen all of them from 1977 till now. I've seen them all in the theater. That was the only one. And I probably, if I went to the theater, would have done the same thing I did in The Last Jedi. Towards the end of that movie, I walked out. After Luke's death, I walked out. I don't know how much I missed of that movie after that, but yeah, I never thought to this day I would ever walk out of a Star Wars movie. So.
Well, I'm sure you weren't the only one who walked out. There were a lot of people who were disappointed. I can remember leaving the theater after watching The Last Jedi. liking some parts of it. I'll admit it. There are certain parts I liked, but the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking, what did I just watch?
You know what sticks to me even to this day of seeing that movie, and I'm not blaming Daisy Ridley. I personally think she's a great actress. But that scene where she's standing there and Luke Skywalker is doing that thing to the milking the cow alien, and when
Hmm.
he drinks the drink, she's laughing at him.
Yeah,
Okay,
they
or,
should have said cut. Let's do that again.
yeah, or I mean, think about this, and this is honestly, I know people like drinking milk. And you either had two choices in today's world. How do you get the milk? You either have somebody milking the cow, or it's on a milk machine that's milking the cow.
Most of the time, it's the
I
machine
don't
that
see what's
does it.
funny. I didn't get to what she was thinking is funny. I was thinking it the way I seen it. Oh, mighty Luke Skywalker. Well, don't forget he grew up on technically a moisturizer, whatever, not moisturizer, a water farm. He joined on a moisture farm. So I'm pretty sure that if they wanted the milk, he knew how to do it. Think about it. If you grab a boy off the farm, he knows how to do farm work. One of them chores, milk the cow or the goat. They knew how to do it.
Hmm.
I don't know. It might have been me, but that's how I seen it. And every time I get that little glimpse in my head, the first thing I think is she's laughing at him.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
see what's
exactly what
funny
she's
about. I
doing.
mean, personally, you know what? I mean, today's world, a woman, still even today, breastfeeds a kid. I mean, if you see it, what's funny about it? She's just doing natural job.
Yeah,
Natural thing. To me, seeing that is, where's Luke going to get milk? I mean, if he wants milk, that's the way you're going to get it, or you don't drink milk. You know.
exactly.
So
So,
I don't know.
yeah,
Just me nitpicking. I'm sorry. I apologize.
uh, don't worry about it. We all have something we nitpick about, whether it's in popular culture, entertainment in general, comics. We've all
But
seen something that gets under our skin. I mean,
I think it got under John Boyega's skin, and I don't blame him. And as far as the thing of cutting him out on the picture of the poster in China, that's China. To compare it to us is like comparing an apple to oranges. Their society is totally different than our society. Just like if you go somewhere else in the world, their society is probably, even more stricter than Chinese. What they don't want. What we want, they don't want. It's just the way the world. Like I said, they even did altering and changing for some of them Star Wars movies to go into the Middle East. Okay, if you don't like the way they do things in the Middle East, then send your movie there. That's the way it is. In order to get their movies played, and trust me, they want to get them played. If they say, "Oh, well, you know what? We don't want to see blood," and if that's part of the deal to get that movie to be played there, then no blood.
yeah,
Everybody is not like us, and we have to accept that. We can't always think the world has to think like Americans. They're not. Prime example is what you see today is a problem. People going to other countries, breaking laws, thinking, well, I did this in America, I can do it here. No, you need to know their
you can't.
laws. So sorry
You have
about
to
that.
abide by the rules that are set
Yep.
in other countries.
Yep. And it's the same thing about getting movies played. If they don't like it, they have their rules. Some of them have religious rules. Now, I know that probably hurt John Boyega about them cutting him out of the poster, but I never heard him complain about that. I think he was more complaining about
The
the
reason
acting.
why you probably never heard him complain about it is because he was still under contract with Disney at the time, and he knew that if he made
Said
any
something,
noise,
out the door he goes.
yeah,
They kill your character. But something, like I said, John Boyega, I don't blame him. Like I said, his Disney experience was awful, and I agree 100%. I wouldn't even touch anything offered by Disney, be it from Marvel, Star Wars, or any company associated with them. No, I don't blame them. Go to Universal. Hell, even I even hate to say this, go to Warner Brothers. Yeah, anywhere but there. And you heard what he said. Indie films. Indie films, Mike. What he's saying right there, independent films.
Yeah.
So
You can't blame him.
no, not at all. Not at all. Like I said, if they offered another Star Wars trilogy to come back to, I don't think his phone is going to be. He's going to answer the phone. I
I
hate to say
wanted
this. I don't think Isaac is going to answer the phone because I even think they did his character wrong. So, yeah. You know what? I would have been more happier if Rey was a Kenobi. She was a product of a love affair between him and that lady from Mandalore. You know, that makes a lot more sense. Things going on, and maybe she knew she needed to get her daughter out of there. I would have preferred her being a Kenobi than the way they ended up her, you know, but that whole movie, that whole trilogy, it was like even a 5-year-old could have done a better job.
Well, even Maz Kanata, saying that's a story for another time, and then they never followed up on it.
No, what happened there? What happened there?
Typical J.J. Abrams.
Yep.
Mystery box, mystery box, mystery box. Well, some mysteries don't need to be solved, but if you're going to set something up, then you better follow through. All right.
He went to that well one too long. So, yep.
Yeah. So our next story comes to us from comicbook.com, and guess what, Phil? There's going to be a live-action Pac-Man movie.
I seen this, and yeah, go on. Give us the horror.
All right, I will. It would appear that a live-action movie adaptation of the Pac-Man video game franchise is officially in development. What exactly a live-action version of the classic arcade game might look like is unclear, but it certainly appears to be a thing that Bandai Namco Entertainment is doing. Pac-Man, if you're not familiar with the franchise, typically follows the eponymous yellow character as he wanders around a maze, pursuing and being pursued by ghosts of different colors. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Bandai Namco Entertainment and Wayfarer Studios are specifically behind the project. Wayfarer Studios, founded by Justin Baldoni and Steve Sarwitz, is perhaps best known for producing the original movie Clouds, based on the life and music of Zach Tobrick for Disney+. Additionally, the live-action adaptation of Pac-Man will reportedly be based on an original idea from Lightbeam Entertainment's Chuck Williams, Sonic the Hedgehog. Man Gargi and Andrew Kaloff will produce the project alongside Baldoni for Wayfarer Studios, while Williams and Tim Kwok are said to be doing so for Lightbeam Entertainment. Whatever comes out of this is worth noting that it's not the first time that Pac-Man has been featured in a movie. Notably, Pac-Man was included prominently in the 2015 live-action movie Pixels, as well as in the 2012 animated movie from Disney, Wreck-It Ralph. Both of those had Pac-Man outside of his stereotypical context, but still very much in line with who the character is and what he does. What a new live-action adaptation actually focusing on Pac-Man in particular might do with the character remains to be seen. And honestly, do we need it? Do we honestly need a live-action Pac-Man movie?
No. My personal opinion, this is an attempt and a very lousy and poor attempt to try to cash in on the wave of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say this. Did they not learn their lesson with trying to make movies in this genre with examples like what's the online game everybody was very it's still very popular today. Uh
They made a Warcraft game.
Warcraft, yes, there you go. They tried to make a movie of it. It bombed. Every time Dungeons and Dragons tried to make a movie, it bombed.
Yeah, well, there's a new Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out, unfortunately.
God bless, please no. Look,
and it looks terrible.
Sometimes Sonic the Hedgehog, because it was done right, you can get away with making a video game movie. But overall, most of them, they bomb. And I don't see how
most of them don't need to be made.
No,
Sorry.
This one does not. Look, Ninja Turtles you can't count because it was the show, the cartoon, the comics before the movie. The movie came after.
Yeah, and when the original movie came out in 1990, it was based a little bit on the cartoon series, but mainly on the original comics.
Yes, and it was done right. When you use video games, to me, look, if your game, let's use an example, the Star Wars, what's that one that everybody likes, and they're making a new one, Fallen Order. You see how that's made? The game is made like a movie because that's how graphics are going today. Okay, you can see that being made as a movie. How are you taking Pac-Man and making that into a movie? Somebody's going to dress up like a giant Pac-Man, and you're going to have these ghosts. Oh, look, there's the power of the little ball to make me be able to chomp down. I don't see it. I don't see it. Pac-Man, great video game, but shouldn't be made into a movie. Pinball, you can make a movie, try and make a movie off pinball, but it's not going to fly.
Well, even Shay brings up a good point. Pac-Man had a cartoon. I used to watch it back in the 80s. That was good enough.
I can see as a cartoon, yes. As something to try to push into the theater, no. I wouldn't take it in a movie theater. No, not or even a made-to-TV or what would you call made-to-direct service movie. No. Live action, no. It's not. It doesn't fit. It's like trying to take a round peg and fit it into a square hole. No matter how much you jam it in it, it's not going to fit. And this is not. I think they're trying to cash in on the Sonic.
They're trying to cash in on Sonic's popularity right now. You know,
and I think Sonic, even if they,
it's one of those few that actually struck the fans.
But I think in their minds, even if it flops, but even if they're able to get, let's say it costs them $50 million to make the movie, and if it goes into theaters, they make $150 million. We will consider that a flop, but for them, hey, it made $100 million. You know, and the danger I see also in this. How many times they're in the article they're tying it to who? Disney. So this is going to be kind of a Disney themed way of doing things, even though it's not Disney. There's a danger there. I wouldn't touch it with the 10-foot pole. No.
I'm not touching it. I'm not going to watch it. I'd rather play the classic game and leave it at that.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, what's next for these people? They're going to bring out Rushing Attack, the movie?
Asteroids, the movie.
There you go. Galaga. There we go. Centipede.
Hubert, the movie. Except only this time, instead of seeing symbols pop up above his head when he gets hit, you actually hear him curse. Let's see. I don't want to be saying, I'll have to admit, Pixels wasn't a blockbuster. This idea definitely seems like a huge step down from that. Yeah, it's a dumb idea. I'm just going to come out and say it's a dumb stupid, brainless idea. So, moving on to our next story from CBR.com. It says Superman Kal-El returns to Earth in Dark Crisis tie-in. Exclusive. CBR can exclusively reveal Superman Kal-El returns special number 1, an upcoming one-shot tying into the events of DC's Dark Crisis. This November, DC's original Superman returns to Earth as part of the Dark Crisis event. At this time, CBR can exclusively reveal Kal-El Returns Special Number 1, which is slated to release in comic shops on Tuesday, November 29th. The previously announced Dark Crisis tie-in special includes stories by Mark Waid, Tiana Grace, Alex Segura, and Marv Wolfman, with art by Max Raynor, Dean Haspel, Jack Herbert, and Clayton Henry. It features a main cover by Dan Mora as well as a variant covers by Travis Moore and Mario Fox Rosillo. So it goes on to say Superman Kal-El returns special number 1. And of course it lists everybody who's involved with it, how much it's going to retail for. $6, 48 pages. The variants could be $7. And it says Kal-El has returned from his long sojourn to Warworld. But what ramifications does this hold for the broader DC universe? An official synopsis for Superman Kal-El Returns Special Number 1 reads, in this special issue, will spotlight Kal-El's return from the Dark Knight, Jimmy Olsen, the Justice League, and Lex Luthor. Plus, witness the never-before revealed look at the moments leading to Superman's abduction by Pariah in Dark Crisis event. The march toward Action Comics number 1050 continues in this essential special volume. It goes on to say Earth hasn't been without a Superman. Kal-El left Earth for Warworld nearly one whole year ago in September 2021's Action Comics 1035. In his father's absence, John Kent, formerly known as Superboy, has taken up the mantle of Superman, protecting Earth in the name of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Or, as I still like to say, truth, justice, and the American way. That's the motto.
That's how it's supposed to be. That's what it was always said when I was growing up.
And when I was growing up.
Be honest, when it comes to DC, and I was a more DC fan growing up than Marvel. Yeah, my thoughts on DC as far as their comic books goes along with the DC universe that comes from the WB. It's junk. When I think of what they did with the one Batman, where they decided we're going to change him as a kid and he's Oriental, yeah, no, that wasn't for me. Or recently when they did, I think it's Young Superman or Superman's younger ego, and he happens to get his first kiss with a boy. I'm like, why? No, not for me. For me, this can be a great book, comic book, but the damage is already done. Why do I want to venture there?
True.
I'm not taking nothing away from it. It could be awesome. But there is one other thing that bugs me, because as a kid, the constant using of his name. I even seen it in a lot of the comic book animation movies that I've seen, especially 2000 and on. Kal-El this, Kal-El that. Super, Wonder Woman says that 10,000 times. Yeah, Watch Super Friends, the cartoon that came out in the 70s, and hear how many times they use the name Kal-El.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice.
Yeah. That's my gripe. It's not look, that's his name, but that's not the name he uses. If you know him as Superman, or if you really want to say they knew him, then they knew him as Clark. But as far as using Kal-El, yes, that's his name. Outside of Earth, maybe coming across fellow Kryptonites, Kryptonians or whatever you want to call them, they might know him as Kal-El. But none of the other people on Earth, the Super Friends included, always used the name Kal-El. No, it was always Superman. That this recent change of going to that name, even with Batman, they start calling, even in their Hall of Justice, it's not the Hall of Justice, some type of space satellite. Batman, they call him Bruce. No, they didn't use Bruce. They always call him in setting Batman. The only people to call him Bruce were the Bat family. That would be his butler, all the Robins, and Batgirl.
I was gonna say Dick Grayson.
They actually knew him other than, but when you watch the Super Friends, they never call him Bruce. They call him Batman. To me, I guess I'm old fashioned, and I'm sorry, but calling
There's something wrong with that, Phil.
Every time when I hear it, that made me cringe. I try to watch these newer Batman and these newer. They're actually, some of them are good, but when they start doing that, that's something I pick up on. Especially in the movies that you've seen with DC movies lately. It's they're doing that, Kal-El and Bruce, and yeah.
I can see where it gets irritating because you're using perfect examples of times where Clark Kent was called Superman. I mean, even in the 90s Superman series, they called him Superman.
Well, it's funny, some of the other ones, like Aquaman, even in the movies, they didn't call him Arthur. I mean, some of them did because they knew him, but really, you didn't see none of the superheroes, Batman, that they didn't call him Arthur. They call him Aquaman. But that's what he is, Aquaman. And the first thing is, they all knew they want to keep their identities a secret. They're not going to be using their first name, even in a setting where they would think it's safe to say.
You never know who's listening.
There you go. I mean, that's common sense, and I could, you would think that's implied. But like I said, how many times did you? I don't know if you've seen any of the WB movies, like the Snyder Cut, for example. How many times you see him call Flash by his first name? None. But they're still on the same movie. You're going to call Superman Kal-El, and you're going to call Batman Bruce. No. I don't know if it's try to do something spicing up or anything like that. I don't know. Whatever they're doing, it's wrong. Like I said, for me, when I see the Super Friends or whatever you want to call them, yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to bore you, Kathy.
That's all right. So moving on here, our next story comes from Anime News Network, and it says SNK develops new Fatal Fury Guru fighting game title. So if anyone's familiar with Fatal Fury, it was popular for a long time, especially in the 90s when you had the fighting game craze, with Fatal Fury, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. You could find Fatal Fury games on pretty much all consoles, whether it was the Neo Geo, the Genesis, the Super Nintendo. You could find it on there. They were fun games. It says SNK has announced during the Evo fighting game tournament on Sunday that it is working on a new installment of its Fatal Fury fighting game series, the first in more than 2 decades since the last installment. The announcement video featured new art as well as featuring Terry Bogart's theme music from Guru. And if I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. Mark of the Wolves. So I guess that's the new design for Terry Bogard. Going away from his iconic look, it looks like. Fatal Fury, known as Guru Densetsu in Japan, is one of SNK's most iconic fighting game franchises and is the origin of some of the company's most recognizable characters, including Terry Bogard, Andy Bogard, Mai Sharut, I'm not even going to try it, Blueberry, Grease Howard, and more. Fatal Fury King of Fighters debuted in arcades in 1991, and its latest installment, Guru Mark of the Wolves, debuted in 1999. SNK's separate fighting game franchise, The King of Fighters, initially began as a crossover fighter for SNK's Fatal Fury and the Art of Fighting franchises, and their characters have been mainstays in the long-running series until today. The series inspired Fatal Fury Legend of the Hungry Wolf OVA in 1992, which I have actually watched. It's actually pretty good. Fatal Fury 2, The New Battle OVA. I haven't watched that in 1993. And Fatal Fury, the motion picture in 1994. Haven't seen that yet. All three feature Masami Oban's character designs, with Abari also directing the third anime. Discotheque Media has released all three anime. Source and SNK's YouTube channel. Let's see if there's more. That looks like that's it. So, let's go ahead and take a look at this video. I probably won't play any sound from it, just to let you know. And if I do, I will just let it go because I shouldn't have to worry about copyright. All right, so really not much to go on. But it'll be interesting to see what the game looks like once they actually release some of the first video from actual gameplay. That's what I'm more curious about. And will it hold up to, past Fatal Fury games? That's another thing.
I've never played these games. This is one that I don't have anything I can contribute. I'm sorry.
I'm glad I could be here for your entertainment input, Latency. Trust me, if you ever want to hear somebody mispronounce Japanese names, come to Pop Talk. I do it often.
And don't worry, Mike is number one, public enemy number one when it comes to the Japanese and the butchering of words.
Yes, it's not something I'm proud of.
But give him credit. Japanese is not an easy words to pronounce. They're, pretty hard.
All right, input. Quit showing off.
I want to say that I in no way am I associated, nor do I know Input Legacy. He just, that I pick on you, but I ain't bringing other people into it. So this is somebody I don't know.
And I'm just joking with you, Input. I'm just joking with you. Show off. All right, so let's go into our final story of the evening. And the final story of the evening is Jujutsu Kaisen O confirms Crunchyroll streaming release date. I know a good friend of ours, Spock's Friday Nights, is actually a fan of Jujutsu Kaisen, so I figured I would go ahead and talk about this. And even though he's not here, I'm sure he'll come by at some point and watch the stream and see this later. But the article goes on to say Jujutsu Kaisen O had a very successful run through theaters across the world, and now it's getting ready for its full digital release as the film will be coming to Crunchyroll very soon. Originally releasing in Japan last winter before coming our way earlier this year, Jujutsu Kaisen O is the feature film follow up to the very successful first season of the anime, taking on Iji Akutami's original manga series. It went on to incredible success, but has yet to have an official home media release at the time of this writing. Thankfully, that's about to change a bit. Crunchyroll announced during their industry panel at Crunchyroll Expo this year that they will be adding some major feature films to their service over the next few weeks. This will be part of a new endeavor to release a collection of new movies every week for the rest of the summer. And one of the major releases headlining this effort is Jujutsu Kaisen O. The major motion picture will be coming to Crunchyroll's streaming service on September 21st, but it has yet to be confirmed as to whether this will be featured, multiple audio options. My bad, I screwed up. If you're curious about how the movie turned out before it hits Crunchyroll later this fall, you can find comicbook.com's review of Jujutsu Kaisen O here. Here's an expert to get you started. It's an absolutely stunning work of animation that surpasses anything seen in the TV anime. It's in everything from the lighting to the impressive fluidity in both the smallest character moments to the action sequences. Each of those sequences is different in its own way as well and are a feast for the eyes and ears. Both the cast of the Japanese and English dubbed audio, both of which were viewed for the purposes of the review, knock it out of the park in this regard, with Megumi Agata and Kaylee McKee serving as major standouts of each cast, respectively. It feels like an elevated experience that's hard to do with a TV series that's already highly praised for these aspects. And it asks the question, will you be checking out Jujutsu Kaisen O when it releases on Crunchyroll next month? Well, I'm sure there will be some people that'll be checking it out, whether they use Crunchyroll or whether they use some other means. And by other means, I'm not condoning it, but you do you. Let's see. Input latency, getting back to the final. Well, I'm sorry, Fatal Fury. I was about to call it Final Fight for some reason. It says, I played a decent bit of SNK games. They're fun with great characters. I just hope they don't go overboard with fan service. Yeah. Fan service does end up killing, games, movies, and TV shows. Fatal Fury and King of Fighters are SNK games, by the way, as with Metal Slug. Yeah, I've played King of Fighters too, so I'm familiar with them. And he also says, also, hi, people. Hope you're all doing good. I hope you're doing good, input latency. So, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to sign up for Crunchyroll just to watch this. I'll probably, find a way to watch it, but having not watched the series, it's not really on the top of my list, to be perfectly honest. But for anybody who enjoys the series, I say check it out. Check it out and enjoy what you love.
Exactly. I don't know much about the series myself, but I'm seeing a trend, and I agree with Kathy. Crunchyroll does sound something like a Chinese restaurant menu, but I'm seeing a trend, and this trend happened before. Years ago, uh, the industry start venturing into science fiction a lot more than what they did, and for 20 years we suffered from it, and a lot of our science fiction favorites have been destroyed. Now you see they're looking at what else they can get their hands on. And the new thing is Japanese animation. I really do hope the Japanese protect their stuff, because if they do to what they did to our Doctor Who or Star Trek or Star Wars, yeah, they're going to just not, like I said, I wouldn't put them past them trying to destroy some of what's classic and even modern Japanese anime. So I want to see stuff coming from Japan, but on the other hand, I hope they're guarded about it, because like I seen after the end of your little column there from that what they were talking about there, that Japanese animation, uh CBS. So if this has something to do with CBS, Paramount, I don't trust them with a 10-foot pole. And I'm sorry, it's today's world. Paramount has not done a good job with Star Trek, and like I said, it's eventually it's not going to make money. I doubt if it is now, but I guarantee it's going to come to a head like Warner Brothers had to come to a head. So they're going to reach out for something. Now, what can they reach out for? Well, they're not creating anything. But the only thing out there that has not
It is, Phil. The thing about it is that Funimation and Crunchyroll are under the same roof, and Funimation is notorious for taking what was produced in the original anime, and when they dub it, putting modern sensibilities and politics into the English dub.
And there's my fear and my beef. And like I said, so like again, I said they did it to our science fiction. The next thing, what's out there that has not been touched, well, they're starting to get their hands on is Japanese anime. And yeah, only thing I will say, Japanese do tend to protect their stuff. Think about it.
Unless you're Sony and you move your headquarters to the U.S. and
give them credit. You can go on to the Disney stream,
and I bring that up because Sony owns Crunchyroll.
Yeah, but give them credit. You can go on to the Disney streaming service. You ain't seen a single Spider-Man movie on there. You don't see it. So, take that as a little hint. Sony, aka Suno New York. I don't know if you ever heard that joke. Way I see it, when it comes to Sony, when it's something done over here, they don't care if they change it or they mutilate it. But when it's over there in Japan, Sony ain't gonna let them destroy it or touch it. So,
Yeah, but again, going back to what I said, with Sony moving their headquarters from Japan to San Francisco, and the fact that Sony as a whole is willing to go woke, go broke, well, that's an issue.
It is. I think they're more caving to their American audience and thinking, well, we'll give them what they want. But trust me when I say this, if you think Sony in Japan is going to allow, okay, let's see, let's use a Sony.
It's not going to matter again. they moved their headquarters from Japan to
Yeah,
San
I
Francisco.
understand that,
So
but they still aren't going to mess with that Japanese audience. That's what I'm trying. That's the thing I'm trying to say. The Japanese audience, you mess with their Godzilla, you mess with Mario Brothers, you do something along that lines. They'll use. Let's just say Sony over here makes a woke Mario Brother movie, and they try to send it to Japan. Japan let it go
Nintendo
there.
wouldn't allow it.
Well, like I said, if they won't let it happen over there in Japan itself. In Japan itself, it won't be accepted. They've been known for that because in the 60s and 70s, a lot of their intellectual property, to call it, was getting Hong Kong and Indonesians were making knockoffs of it. Japan didn't let none of that stuff even get in Japan. Wouldn't let them come anywhere near. So, they're, like I said, they're very protective. And I know they're, like you said, their headquarters is here. But let's say that for sure, Sony's power base is still in Japan. And anything made for Japanese art, they're not going to let them just touch it and destroy it like they do over here. You won't have a Star Wars or a Doctor Who type fallout over there like they did here. Now,
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake, they were actually advocating for the character Tifa to have her assets reduced in size, and they even have a department now where it looks at different content to see if it meets certain criteria.
I hate to say this, Japanese animation has always been known for big boob females.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Sony themselves, and
yeah. Well, like I said, when they have their
they own Crunchyroll
headquarters over here,
they're going woke. They're going woke, and they're probably going to go broke.
It's definitely, if they do that, they're going to destroy. Look, I will say they do care about their Japanese fan base. You might as well kiss that goodbye. But as soon as you mess with that, they're going to be done. And Japanese people don't like any of them cultural.
They don't, but Sony's already willing to bend the knee to do it. And even Input Latency says Sony's been getting worse since moving to America. He's exactly right.
Well, I can see that if they're doing it for the American audience. Can you say for sure they're doing that to the Japanese? They're taking something made for America and sending it woke to Japan.
Oh, you better believe they are.
I would love to know how it's being perceived over there in Japan, because I don't think they would be accepting it.
They probably aren't, but it doesn't matter. Now they're here in the States with their headquarters here in the States, no longer in Japan. So they're going to go woke and go broke.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I find that as a shock. I mean, like I said, I know a lot of companies, foreign companies, that decide to move to the United States, and they do things for Americans for the American audience, but they don't do it the same for their audience, which is all right.
No, that's why there are some companies who have taken it upon themselves to make sure that not only do they record that series in Japanese, but they also do the dub over in Japan, because they know companies like Funimation are going to do whatever the hell they want, and they're saying no.
Yeah,
we're going to give you these episodes, these series exactly as they're written. We are going to translate them and do our own dubbing, and you're going to air it as it is. Do not change our work in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. Like I know Bandai, and Bandai is really big because Star Blazers hit. Bandai does not let anything like that affects their product. And like I said, if they made something, let's say they made a superhero and binary, and they release it over here in the United States, they won't. I don't think they would have a problem with it. But trying to import that binary character over to Japan, I doubt that would ever fly. I just doubt that would ever fly. So if Sony, decides this is the route they're going to go, first of all, they're going to lose their main base in Japan. So kiss that goodbye. And definitely over here, you're not going to win much. I mean, you might win a little new fans, but not like I would say they would definitely lose 70% of their base saying goodbye. I don't want to see this. Think Doctor Who. How many of them people they're stuck around? That fan base is destroyed. It's not coming back.
I only watched Jodie Whittaker's debut episode, and I said no more.
Blasphemy. I mean, for me, and Japan is not the only one, but when it comes to entertainment, after the United States, it is Japan. Then you might think Australia, and then Europe. For us, I hate to say it, I always knew that it was a matter of time before Bullseye is going to be put on animation, especially Japanese ideas. And it already, like I said, it already happened. You get stuff already coming from there, from Japan. 47 rolling with, what's his name? Keanu Reeves. There's an example. Japanese.
Damn, Gap. I hope you're okay, man. That's going to be scary. Getting lightning hitting the tree and your house. I mean, I live in North Carolina, and a couple of years ago, lightning struck very close to the house, but it didn't hit the house. But man, that's freaky.
Yeah. I had a tree in my backyard got struck by lightning. And fortunately, it didn't hit the house, but it did split that tree in half. My house wouldn't have survived if the tree came down onto it. So, yeah. Cut it just like you would see, like some lumberjack came out there with the power saw and cut it right in half. So lightning is no joke. Lightning is no joke.
Nope. I mean, that's why whenever I see that thunderclouds are rolling in, even before I hear the thunder itself, if I'm out doing yard work, I wrap it up.
Yep. The thing to always remember is lightning tends to strike whatever's the tallest object. So if you're in your yard cutting grass and you don't have trees and you are the tallest object, chances are if lightning is going to strike, it's going to want to hit you. So, there are some people that teach if you hear lightning, duck, lie flat on the ground, so you're not the tallest thing in a vicinity. So, but for me, as soon as I see them dark clouds, boom, I'm in the house. Actually, a car is the safest place to be in because of the tires.
Yep. I saw a video, and this is last year, of a vehicle. I think it was in Kansas, somewhere in the Midwest. And of course, it was a rainstorm. There was thunder, lightning, and you actually see lightning hit the vehicle in front of this other vehicle that was recording. It was from their dash cam. And luckily for those people, they were all right and inside their car, and the rubber tires insulated. But that car, as far as I knew, it would need a lot of work done to get it up and running again. I'm no car aficionado, but I can imagine with all the microchips and everything in vehicles nowadays, all that was sorted out.
I would say, listen to Gap. Lightning's like water. It tends to goes to the place of the least resistance. So it wouldn't surprise me if it struck a tree, split the tree, go through the ground, travel through the ground, and if a power box or whatever box is net right there, that's where it's going to end up. Like water, it's going to find its way to the least resistance. Yeah. So, unfortunately, lightning, it's going to do its thing. I always marvel at the people that get struck by lightning, not once, not twice, but like 4 times. It's like, okay, you need to stay in a bunker.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to thank everybody for stopping by tonight's edition of Pop Talk. Phil, thank you for being my co-host for tonight.
Anytime. Didn't mean to put Kathy to sleep. I'm sorry, Kathy. Find it in your heart to forgive me.
And Gab, I'm glad you and your family are okay. I mean, and that's some serious freaky deaky stuff. Your heart had to have been pounding. And Kathy is saying a long time ago, some of my mom's siblings died from a freak lightning bolt hitting a tree. It was a sunny day too.
No, you don't. That's the thing about lightning. It does not need to be the typical all the clouds are dark and it's
No,
overhead. No, you can have a a medium sized cloud and sunny on the other side in some parts, and it's still lightning can still strike anything. You know. But I never
and
forget when it struck my tree in the back, and it wasn't a small tree neither, man. I'm talking about that tree was probably about 3, 4 stories high. And like I said, it wasn't about 10, 15 feet away from the house. And when it hit, I heard the boom and I felt the shock. But yeah, luckily, the way it split the tree, it didn't fall on either side near the house. It fell the opposite directions. So, but if had that tree fell onto the house, yeah, the house would have definitely been gone. So, yeah. I marveled at the very tip of the tree at the top where they both split was burnt, but the rest of the tree, straight down even to the stump, was just it was like looking at a cut piece of wood. There was no burn marks or anything on it. So
yeah, and like I said a couple of years ago, when that lightning struck very close to the house, I jumped out of my seat and onto the floor. And and I'm gonna tell you all the exact words that came out of my mouth. Holy shit! What the fuck was that?
yeah, yeah.
I
You know
knew
what?
it was lightning, but still, I wasn't expecting it to be that close.
Do you know it is a proven fact? People never believed it for the longest time. You can get a lightning from a snowstorm.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
I've seen it
snowstorm.
when I used to go up to the Sierra Nevadas with my dad. When I lived out in California, we would see it.
Oh, sorry for your loss there, Kathy. That's
Yeah.
unusual way for people to go out. I hate to say that accidents happen, but yeah.
Oh, 1950. That was the year my mom was born.
That was before Phil. Phil was not even thought of in 1950.
Wow, Kathy, my heart goes out to you. I don't care what anyone else says. My heart goes out to you and your family. I wouldn't even know how to deal with that.
And the way it sounds, it was more than one person that passed away from that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's even worse. That's even worse.
Yeah. She says it up here a long time ago. Some of my mom's siblings died from a freak lightning bolt hitting a tree. It was a sunny day.
Just goes to show you any moment, any time, something can always happen, man. There's actually, hate to say it, there's actually no place is safe. If when it's your time, and I hate to use that term, but there's no other term I can come up with. But when it's your time, it's your time.
Yep.
It's a
Because
mar- it, it marvels. It's a marvel of life that You know, 5 minutes makes a difference from a person missing something that can cause injury, and 5 minutes puts you in that position to be injured. You know, just wrong place, wrong time. It's the only way I can think of it.
Yeah. My parents used to tell me, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. There's no stopping it. You can't
No,
stop it.
there's not. And you, I know a lot of people say that's a cop out, but it is the truth. When it's your, what can you do when it's your time? If tomorrow morning I wake up and it's my time, there's nothing I can do. I can't say I can do this, I can do that. It's just your time. But to go out that way, you know, you just feel for a person, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want. I've been electrocuted, and I do not like the feeling. So that's not the way I want to go.
Mm-mm. And I do want to say good night to Input Latency. Thanks for stopping by. As soon as I wrap up here, I'll stop by your Twitch channel and say hello. And Kathy goes on to say it was one of Mom's sisters and one of her brothers, plus his girlfriend that died. The others were badly injured. Oh, man.
I had my mom. She got electrocuted with 240 volts. Uh, this after surviving cancer. uh, yeah. Uh, she survived and she's fine. But I was always worried because I always heard the stories. It's not sometimes you getting hit with electricity that you die. Sometimes it's a week or two. And believe it or not, the electricity is still in your system. Then you
Mm-hmm.
have like a stroke, and that's sometimes when you die. So I was more concerned when my mom was out of the hospital than when she was in the hospital. But yeah, and like I said, my mom had just survived from cancer treatment, and to get 240 volts that could have killed her, but
Mm-hmm.
she survived. Thank God she survived and still with us today. So yeah, electricity, lightning, that's just no joke. That's no joke.
Again, you see a thunderstorm rolling in, you hear that thunder. Whatever you're doing, get to safety.
Yeah.
If you if your closest place of shelter is your car, get in your car.
Yep. Like I said, especially like most of the time you ever hear about someone getting struck with lightning is normally like in a setting where there's a tree, it will strike a tree. But if there's no tree, like you're in a field like baseball games, well, I remember playing little league and there was a thunderstorm rolling in. They told everybody get out and get in your car and go home, get out of here. Because if you're the tallest thing out there, is a human being, then lightning searches for. We give off something that the lightning. They call them streaks. Sometimes your trees give it off, sometimes people give it off, and lightning is looking for a connection from the sky to the ground. And if that streak comes from a tree, then that's what it's going to connect to. But if it's a human being in a field, then unfortunately, whoever that human being is, that's where that streak of lightning is going to connect to. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but like you said, you get in a car if you're in a field, get in a or start hauling, try to get to your house, get as far as way you want to be out of harm's way. And it isn't unheard of the lightning striking a house, but at least in a house, there's a lot of things that lightning can, go to other than you. So
Yeah. Oh, especially when you're looking up in, the Northeast or even the Midwest where you see lightning rods on houses.
yeah, yeah, they're not there just for decoration. They're actually there to absorb this lightning strike. That and they prefer the lightning being attached to that lightning rod than just striking their cattle. And I can show you videos sometime of cattle getting struck because there's nothing out in the field and they're the tallest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the lightning strikes, it knocks one cow out, but then the force of the lightning knocks all the other cows, tips them over. So you see like 50 cows from one lightning strike, laid out. So, and a cow's a pretty big animal, So, just think we're a lot smaller than a cow, and the cow can absorb a lot of direct lightning strike. Tells you that a human being doesn't really have that type of
It just
survivability.
shows how fragile we are.
That's what makes it even marvel that you hear about some of these people like getting struck 2 or 3 times by lightning. And it has happened.
Mhm.
You just don't want to. I would say immediately don't want to be near them people. There's a lightning strike. So
Nope. So, with that being said, again, I want to thank everybody who stopped by, lurked, listened, commented in the chat. I want to thank Kathy Skywalker for being here this evening. Gap After Dark, thank you for being here. Input Latency, I'll come by and chat with you over on your Twitch channel. Thanks for coming by here. Really appreciate it. Jay, good to see you as always. And of course, we had Pat Wannabe. Let me just find one of his comments. There you are. Thank you, Pat Wannabe. Really appreciate it. And let's see. Of course, Phil was here in the chat and on the panel.
That guy, you have to do something about him. He's a menace to society.
We're all a menace to somebody.
There you go.
And of course, we had DJ Ronnie G here tonight. Thank you. Really appreciate it, DJ. Now it's going to be weird not talking about the Orville tonight. Now that the Orville is done, we don't even know if it's getting a 4th season. And with the way that last episode of season 3 it felt more like a series finale than a season finale. I also want to thank Jedi Bill for stopping by. Really appreciate it. You all should definitely subscribe to Jedi Bill and check out his karaoke streams. And let's see, I don't want to leave anybody behind. We had Alan Copeland stop by. It's always good to see Alan Copeland. We also had Jet Sparks. It's always good to see you, Jet Sparks. Leia Rose, it's good to see you. And let's see, anyone else? And that was everybody who was in the chat. Anybody who was lurking, thank you very much. Everyone who stops by and watches this video after the fact, thank you very much. If you liked what you saw here, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like what you saw here, give it a thumbs down. Share this video with your friends. And consider subscribing to the PACIFIC414 YouTube channel because I do episodes of Pop Talk talking about the latest news, rumors, and opinions in pop culture. But I also do episode reviews, movie reviews, live streams, just talking about whatever topic comes to mind, especially with the monthly Pop Talks on a Saturday where on Saturday, the 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be talking about anime. And I also talk about baseball on this channel with the box score. And I'm strongly thinking about doing episode 342. I was about to say 142, but I got to remind myself I've already done 142 a long while ago. And I'll be recapping the Cubs and Reds, not from Davenport, Iowa. I wish I was going to Davenport, Iowa to witness the Field of Dreams game with the Cubs and Reds, but I'll be watching it and then I'll recap it. And I might even do it live. Who knows?
Nice.
But that'll be the next thing on the channel. As far as a video game stream, I don't know what the next game will be. I'll be honest, I'm kind of waiting for the Cowabunga collection to come out on the 30th of this month to stream a particular game from that collection. And I'm going to go ahead and let you all know which game it is. It's the NES version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I'm going to try to defeat that game during the stream. And it's not going to be easy. That game was never easy, but I'm going to try to do it. And real quick, I do want to acknowledge the old man. Always good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope Baron's doing well. I invited Baron to come on the stream, but I didn't hear back, so he must be pretty busy. But thank you all for stopping by. As always, I greatly appreciate it. And again, remember, I'm not just a baseball guy. I'm an all-around guy. Good night, all.
Good night.
Let's see. Which one do I want to play? Yes.
I want you to know it's over.
Well, bye.